Hello, we are now going to be discussing homeostasis through the lens of the human body and its systems, because we've discussed homeostasis so far in terms of mostly cells. And so now I want to expand that discussion to include how the human body itself, with all of its organ systems, maintains homeostasis on an organismal level rather than just a cellular level. Make sure as I go through this that you are writing small so that you can get all of the necessary info in the boxes. First system I would like to talk about is the digestive system. So you should all be somewhat familiar with the digestive system considering you eat food. So the act of taking in food, ingestion, is a little bit different than digestion, because taking in food just means to put food in your mouth, chew it, and swallow it, whereas digestion is the actual breakdown chemically of that food. So what our digestive system's function is overall is to ingest food, then digest it, otherwise known as breaking down that food into smaller molecules, storing it, absorbing nutrients from it, and then finally eliminating waste. Our major organs of the digestive system are our mouth, our esophagus, our stomach, our small intestine, our large intestine, our rectum, and anus. Accessory organs that are related to the digestive system, but not technically a major organ in it, would be our salivary glands, our liver, our pancreas, our gallbladder. Now, the digestive system is going to interact with other systems, as all of our body systems do. It's going to interact with the circulatory system because our digestive system absorbs nutrients and is going to deliver those digested nutrients to cells via the circulatory system. It's going to interact with the muscular system because when we ingest food, that's us taking in chemical energy, which we can convert into another form. And that provides energy for our muscular system to do work. Also, the digestive system is full of something called smooth muscle, which performs controlled contractions that pushes food through it. It's also going to interact with the nervous system through the hypothalamus, which is located in your brain. It's going to maintain homeostasis by triggering your appetite. So whenever you're getting hungry or your stomach is telling you, hey, it's time to eat, that's actually an action of the hypothalamus stimulating that response. Next, we have the circulatory system. So this is the system that does all the blood delivery and movement and transport. So its function is going to be to transport materials to and from cells. So that could be oxygen and carbon dioxide, so gas delivery to and from. That could be hormones, chemicals that have actions within your body, or that could be nutrients. That could be glucose or whatever. It's also going to act to get rid of wastes. So as soon as oxygen is dropped off at a cell, carbon dioxide, a waste product, is picked up and dropped off back at the lungs. The circulatory system also is going to help maintain a constant body temperature. Our major organs of our circulatory system are heart, veins, arteries, capillaries, and red blood cells. So we see red blood cells pictured over here on the right. In this middle diagram here, the vessels that are pictured in red are representative of our arteries. Our vessels that are pictured in blue are representative of our veins, and the same with this diagram over here on the left. On that left diagram, the heart is also pictured right in the middle here. I would like to say one thing about the red and blue in these diagrams. You may know this already, you may not, but blood is never blue. A lot of people think that it is because they've seen veins represented by blue their entire life. That is not accurate. And you may be asking yourself, but I look through my skin and it looks blue to me. Okay, yeah, but that's because you're seeing your red blood through your skin, which is causing you to perceive something different than actuality. Blood does change color a little bit if blood is exposed to oxygen, it becomes very bright red. If it is deoxygenated, it becomes a much deeper, darker red, but it is never blue. The circulatory system is going to interact with the respiratory system. It's going to deliver oxygen from your lungs to your cells. It's going to drop off carbon dioxide from the cells back to the lungs. It's going to interact with the digestive system because remember, the digestive system is absorbing nutrients and it's going to deliver those nutrients to the cells. And the circulatory system is going to interact with the excretory system, which I'll talk about in a little bit. Your kidneys are going to filter any waste out of your blood for removal, waste other than carbon dioxide. So other things that happen to accumulate in your blood, your kidneys are going to filter out so your body can remove them. The circulatory system is going to interact with the lymphatic system, both for transporting things to and from your cells. So your lymphatic system is another system of vessels, which again, I will talk about in a little bit. It's going to interact with your immune system, transporting white blood cells, that's what WBCs mean, white blood cells, through the body to fight disease. It's going to interact with your nervous system. Your brain is going to have control over how fast your heart is beating at any given time. And it's going to interact with the endocrine system to transport hormones around your body. Your nervous system is our next system. It is going to gather and interpret information, detect changes in your body's chemical makeup, whatever, and it's going to respond to stimuli. And in so doing, it's going to help monitor and maintain homeostatic balance within your body. So think about your nervous system as your control center. It controls every other part of your body, either conscious to you or subconsciously. Our nervous system is split up into a few different parts. We're going to talk about some of those parts. Our CNS, or central nervous system, consists of your brain and your spinal cord, nothing else. So over here on this diagram on the right, everything in pink over here is going to be your central nervous system. Your peripheral nervous system, on the other hand, is going to include your nerves, your sensory organs, receptors, and your hypothalamus, which technically is part of your brain, but it is also part of the peripheral nervous system. Peripheral meaning not central. Its function is to control every single other system in your body. So quite literally, whether you realize it or not, your brain has control over everything. And when your brain malfunctions, so does everything else. The hypothalamus, which I keep referencing again and again and again, is maintaining homeostatic balance in your body by working with all the other systems. So the hypothalamus functions, it releases hormones, it stimulates the production of them, it does a lot, but it basically maintains subconscious control of your other systems. Our excretory system is our next subject. It is going to eliminate or remove waste products from your body. It's going to filter your blood and it's going to maintain water and chemical balance. All right. It consists of your kidneys, ureters, bladder, and urethra, which you can see pictured right down here. Your kidneys are pictured here and here. They look like little beans in this drawing. They're much bigger than beans. Your ureters are this here that I'm outlining and that over here. So they connect your kidneys to your bladder. Your bladder is down here and the urethra is below the bladder leading to outside. Your lungs are going to count as part of your excretory system, even though they are part of your respiratory system as well, because they do also function to remove wastes from your system, i.e. carbon dioxide, though you will not see the lungs referenced a whole lot as part of the excretory system because it's a separate situation. Your skin has sweat glands that will release sweat onto your skin surface for the purpose of cooling your body. And then the liver finally is going to produce urea, which is a chemical that we will talk about later. But urea is found in your urine. That is going to interact with other systems as well. As per usual, it's going to interact with your circulatory system because, again, your excretory system is filtering waste out of your blood. It's going to interact with your lungs to remove excretory waste. It's going to interact with your integumentary system, which is your skin, to remove excretory waste as well. Your respiratory system is next. It's going to take in oxygen from the air and remove carbon dioxide and water vapor. All right, these gases are going to be exchanged within the circulatory system. So when you breathe in, air is going to travel into your lungs and through your trachea, through your bronchi, through your bronchioles, and finally it's going to arrive at these tiny little air sacs here called alveoli. Now, alveoli have very, very thin walls to them, 1 cell thick, as do your capillaries. So what you're seeing here is a tiny, tiny capillary that is 1 cell thickness and an alveoli that's 1 cell thickness. And what's going to happen is that carbon dioxide is going to diffuse into the alveoli, and the oxygen in the alveoli is going to diffuse into the capillary, into the red blood cells, so that your red blood cells can become oxygenated and then continue to deliver gases to your cells where they're needed. On the right-hand side here, you see like the system pictured a little bit bigger. Basically, your artery that's traveling from your heart to your lungs is going to pump some deoxygenated blood to your lungs to get oxygenated. It's going to go back to the heart through this vein that's pictured here. No, that's not actually what it looks like. But then your heart's going to pump that oxygenated blood through the rest of your body. One interesting thing is that the pulmonary artery, pictured right there, is the only artery that carries deoxygenated blood in your body. And the pulmonary vein, pictured here, is the only vein in your body that carries oxygenated blood. Because on the whole, most arteries carry oxygenated blood and most veins carry deoxygenated blood. So these two are the only exceptions there. Our respiratory system is going to include our nose, our trachea, our bronchi, our bronchioles, our alveoli, and our lungs as a whole. So, air passages are going to include the nose, the sinuses, the throat, the larynx, and the trachea. So what air is doing is it's coming in your nose or your mouth. It's going to travel way back here through your pharynx. It's going to go down into your trachea. Your trachea is going to branch off into 2 things called bronchial tubes. Each of those bronchial tubes goes into the lungs, at which point it branches again and again and again, forming bronchioles. Those are basically just smaller bronchi. And then eventually it's going to stop at these little air sacs that I described before called alveoli. So that's how our respiratory system is going to work out. Interactions include the circulatory system, the excretory system, the nervous system, and the muscular system. Our reproductive system is next. That is going to allow organisms to reproduce, which prevents their species from going extinct, obviously. The function of the reproductive system is to produce gametes, or sperm and egg cells. You've all heard of this before. I've talked about it before. And also to produce offspring after fertilization, and in females also produce milk for said offspring. So females have a different reproductive system than males. Obviously, females' reproductive systems are going to include ovaries, who function to produce the eggs, fallopian tubes that will connect to the ovaries to the uterus, which could potentially house a child, the vagina, and any mammary glands are going to count for part of the reproductive system as well. Males, on the other hand, are going to have testes, which are within the testicle, and their function is to produce sperm cells. The scrotum, which is essentially the bag that holds the testicles. The prostate gland, the urethra, seminal vesicles, the vas deferens, and the penis. So basically, when sperm is produced, it's going to be produced in the testicle. It's going to go up the vas deferens. It's going to go through here and out. Reproductive system is going to interact with the endocrine system. The endocrine system being the system that produces hormones. That is going to control the production of sex cells and the onset of something called secondary sex characteristics. So when you all go through puberty, you're going to get secondary sexual characteristics. Some of you have already gone through this, some of you have not. But for women, it's going to be hair starting to grow. It's going to be the development of breast tissue. For males, it's going to be hair growing on your face. It's going to be your voice dropping. It's going to be all those things that appear during puberty. Those are going to be your secondary sex characteristics. The reproductive system is also going to interact with your muscular system. The uterus contracts to give birth, and that is again controlled by hormones, i.e. the endocrine system. Your skeletal system, it functions to protect your organs. It's going to provide shape to your body and support. If we didn't have a skeletal system, we would be gelatinous blobs all over the floor. It's going to store minerals and also fats. It's going to produce blood cells. So if you didn't know, your blood cells are produced in your bone marrow within long bones and also spongy bones. And it's going to allow you to move because skeletal muscles connect to your bones and they act as little levers to move your body around. Bones are going to be the major thing associated with your skeletal system, but also cartilage and ligaments. So if you don't know what cartilage is, it's going to be that padding that you find between bones. It's very, very smooth. It has a very good lubrication system, which is great for you because that means that movement is not painful unless you've hurt yourself. But as people age, their cartilage stops working as well. And so people that need knee replacements, hip replacements, things like that, their cartilage has worn down enough that movement is painful. Ligaments are going to connect bones to other bones. A tendon is going to connect muscle to bone. So tendons and ligaments are two very different things. Ligaments are part of the skeletal system only because they connect bone to bone, whereas tendons are kind of a connection between the muscular system and the skeletal system. The skeletal system is divided into two parts. The axial skeletal system includes your skull, your ribs, your spine, your sternum, basically your torso and your head. And the appendicular skeletal system is going to be everything else. So your arms, your legs, your scapula, your clavicle, and your pelvis are going to be part of that appendicular skeletal system. The skeletal system is going to interact with a lot of things, with your muscular system to allow movement, with your circulatory system producing red blood cells, with your immune system because white blood cells are also produced in the skeletal system, with your circulatory and respiratory system because it protects those vital organs, especially in your torso. Muscular system is going to be next. It's going to allow for movement of the body and for substances like blood and food to move around through contraction of different kinds of muscle. It is going to provide structural support to your body as well. There are three types of muscle found in your body. Cardiac muscle, which is your heart muscle, and that's going to beat involuntarily. You do not control how fast your heart beats, your body does. There's going to be smooth muscle, which is found in your digestive system, but also in your arteries. And that is also an involuntary muscle. You do not have conscious control over that. Your body has subconscious control, just like your cardiac muscle. And the skeletal muscle that's found in your body, which you do have conscious control over because you can choose to move your arm. Tendons are also going to be part of the muscular system. Remember, tendons are going to connect muscles to bones. So here down in this diagram down here, we see pictured the different kinds of muscle. So you can tell the difference between the different kinds of muscle by just looking at it. Skeletal muscle pictured all the way over on the right is going to be striated, meaning that stripiness that you're seeing, that's really, really evident in skeletal muscle, and that's a consequence of the proteins found in there. Your cardiac muscle is going to look a little different. It's much more branched looking than the skeletal muscle. You can kind of see the cells moving in slightly different directions. And then the smooth muscle over on the left it looks a little bit different in that you don't see those striations at all, and all of the cells are like super skinny and super very, 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 very long. Muscular system is going to interact with a lot of other systems: skeletal, digestive, respiratory, circulatory, nervous system. It's going to control the movement with the skeletal system. It's going to contract to allow the movement of food through the digestive system. It's going to contract to control breathing. Your diaphragm is a muscle. The circulatory system has muscle in it. Again, your heart muscle that pumps your blood through your body, and also the smooth muscle that's found in your arteries. And then it's going to interact with your nervous system because your nervous system controls your muscle contractions. Endocrine system is next. That is going to regulate body activities using hormones, which is a little bit slower than the nervous system. And it also regulates your metabolism, your water and mineral balance, your growth, your behavior, your development, a whole lot of stuff. So like I said before, it's a slower response. It's not as immediate as thinking you want to do something and going to do it, but it is longer lasting. So hormone effects last a long time. Think about that hormone cascade that's happening during puberty. Like, you are an adult for the rest of your life. You don't just randomly change back into your kid body. It is going to include glands: your hypothalamus, your pituitary gland, your thyroid gland, your thymus gland, your adrenal glands, your pancreas, your ovaries, and your testes. So you're seeing some crossover for different systems, like with the ovaries and the testes. Those are also part of the reproductive system. Over here on the right, you can see the placement of those different organs within your body, those different glands located all over the place. Endocrine system is going to interact with your circulatory system to transport those hormones to their target organs. It's going to interact with your nervous system to maintain homeostasis and hormone release. Again, that's through the hypothalamus. It's going to interact with your reproductive system, controlling sexual development and activities controlled by hormones, and with your skeletal system, because your endocrine system actually controls the growth of your bones as well. Your immune system is going to fight off foreign invaders in your body, specific defenses to recognize and fight pathogens. So in here in this picture, you're going to see a bunch of different pathogens. Some of them are living pathogens, some of them are not. We have carcinogens that can cause mutations. We have pollution, et cetera, et cetera. Toxins are not alive, but bacteria can produce toxins and stuff like that. Your immune system is also going to help stop the growth and spread of cancer cells. So we've talked about that before. We've talked about how your body's job is to recognize cells that are growing without inhibition as bad and trigger that apoptosis. We've talked a little bit about antibodies and how they are going to recognize foreign cells as foreign and mark them for destruction as well. Our white blood cells, or otherwise known as our lymphocytes, are going to be T cells, B cells, macrophages. There's a few other types of white blood cells, but I'm not going to get into that. Macrophages are going to be the cellular eaters of your immune system. They physically consume pathogens and destroy them. Your skin, your bone marrow, your thymus, your lymph nodes, your lymph vessels, your spleen, your tonsils, your adenoids, those are also going to be part of your immune system as well, having different functions. The immune system is going to interact with your circulatory, with your lymphatic system, with your skeletal system, and with your integumentary system. Again, that's your skin. With the circulatory system, white blood cells are going to be transported from place to place. With your lymphatic system, that is going to house a lot of your white blood cells to fight invaders. Your spleen is going to filter bacteria and viruses out of your blood. Your skeletal system are going to make those white blood cells in the bone marrow, and your integumentary system is going to provide a barrier between inside you and outside you so that bacteria just don't get into your body willy-nilly all of the time. Your integumentary system is going to be, again, your barrier against infection. That's your first line of defense. It's going to help regulate your body temperature as well and remove excretory waste from your system. It's going to protect you against the sun's UV rays. It's going to produce vitamin D, which you need. It does a lot of things for you. Your skin consists of your epidermis, which is the outermost part that you can touch on the surface of your skin. Your dermis, which is underneath that, that's going to have your sweat glands and your sebaceous glands, which are going to produce oil. It's going to have your hair follicles, your blood vessels that are stacked throughout your integumentary system, and also some nerves. Your skin is innervated. That's why you can feel pain and you can feel like pressure and touch and all of that fun stuff. It's going to interact with your excretory system because it's going to remove cellular waste. It's going to interact with your nervous system to control body temperature, like sweating or getting goosebumps. It's going to interact with your immune system to prevent pathogens and disease-causing agents from getting in. So again, that goes back to our first line of defense. And then our lymphatic system, which I had mentioned earlier, that is, think of it going right alongside with your circulatory system. It's another system of vessels, but it doesn't contain blood. It contains lymph, which is fluid, but it's different than blood because it doesn't have any red blood cells in it. That is going to store and carry your white blood cells that are going to fight disease. It's also going to collect excess fluid from your circulatory system and then return it if necessary. So again, think of it as like a second circulatory system. It's going to reach between cells where one can't. So like your circulatory system goes in certain places, your lymphatic system is going to go in others, and they're going to work together. Lymph is the liquid part of your blood plasma when it's in your lymph vessels. So again, your blood has this too. It's just that your blood also has red blood cells and things like that. Your lymph vessels are going to be a part of your lymphatic system, your lymph nodes. So if you've ever felt underneath your jaw when you're sick and you feel that it's swollen, you're like, oh, my glands are swollen. It's actually not your glands, it's your lymph nodes that are swollen because they act as kind of a catch-all for bad things. Like when pathogens accumulate in your body, like the lymph nodes will collect them and they'll collect white blood cells as well. It's going to interact with your immune system. Obviously, your white blood cells are going to fight disease, and white blood cells are located in your lymphatic system. It's going to interact with your circulatory system, again, to transport materials around the body. So this was a very quick, very general look at the different systems. There's a ton more that I could tell you about each system. And if you have questions about a particular system and want to know a little bit more, please come ask me because I'm happy to talk about them. But this is, again, generic information that I need you to have down on your reference sheet so that you can do the project that I assigned to you in class and just kind of know a little bit more about how your own body works.